When I first started my marketing agency a little while ago now, I obviously fluctuated quite a lot, right? From, 0K per month up to 5K per month and then sometimes back down, right? And I could never quite crack that 10K per month for maybe the first 6 months or so. But once I did this, that was it. It was game over. Now, what I'm talking about is very basic, and a lot of people do talk about it. And as soon as you hear what I'm going to talk about, you might think, oh, I've heard this 1,000 times before. But no one tells you actually how to do this and why this is actually important. And my experience, I think, is different than what a lot of people say. I'm sure you might have guessed by now what I'm talking about is focus. Being able to focus in business, in life, it's a superpower. It's literally the one thing that sets you out in front of everyone else, because everyone's attention spans is absolutely terrible. People who watch short form content, people who constantly are flicking through Netflix and they don't know what to watch and they can't really give their attention to one single thing, you're never going to make it. You're never going to get to that 10K per month simply because this is what it takes. But the thing is, more and more people actually can't do that and they can't focus. So if you can do this, the rewards you're going to get from this are insane. Pretty much almost unlimited rewards at this point. Because if you are the person that can sit down and you can focus on one task and you can get stuff done, the difficult stuff that no one else wants to do, then the rewards of this is going to be shared by fewer and fewer people. Eventually, there's only going to be a very select few people that can do this, and they're going to be paid the rewards for this. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Ben Lister. I help marketing agency owners to save thousands of hours by doing their outreach for them, by helping them with their outreach so that they can actually work on the agency rather than in the agency. But in this video, I want to talk about how you can actually make sure that you are doing the work properly and being able to focus. So like I said, everyone talks about focus. I'm sure you've seen some YouTubers out there with millions and millions of views talking about, here's 5 tips to make sure you focus, right? Turn your notifications off. What else have we got? Make sure you, start to progressively meditate every 20 minutes, right? But no one actually tells you what's going on in your head and why this doesn't work and why you constantly feel the need to pick up your phone or go onto YouTube or to do something else, okay? And the way that I see it is focus is like a muscle. Now, muscles obviously can build muscles up by doing the right actions, and you can obviously deteriorate muscles and atrophy muscles by doing the wrong actions. And focus is very much the same way. And because focus is in the brain, it's in your mental state, you can't shut it off. The only time you can shut it off is when you're asleep. This is 16 hours a day. This is like you are working out for 16 hours a day and you are constantly making sure that you need to do the right things. And so this is why it is so difficult. With so much technology that's out there nowadays, and we've advanced so much technologically compared to what prehistoric humans were like, and we still have these monkey brains, we can't defeat this focus without actually understanding how it works and having some serious willpower to do that. Everyone fails at this. A lot of people do fail at this, but if you are one of those select people that can succeed in this, then the rewards are going to be incredible. So how do we actually build this muscle then? Because that's the most important thing. What worked for me was just being able to not skip things. Now, what I mean when it comes to watching videos, when it comes to listening to music, when it comes to picking something on Netflix, when it comes to anything like that, right? If you are constantly switching things, the way that it works in science terms, and I'm not going to give you some specific means, it's going to be a bit of bro science, to be honest with you. Your brain likes context changes. When your brain all of a sudden has a different environment, there's a dopamine spike. And this is true because if you imagine prehistoric humans walking through an environment or exploring, it would be very rare that you would have these huge changes, right? Where all of a sudden you would be looking at maybe a desert and then now you're looking at a rainforest, right? That wouldn't happen. Many humans would have never ever seen certain demographics, right? Some people would never even seen forests and deserts and stuff like that. It would have been one type of place. If you lived on the African plains, you're just going to see deserts or whatever it is. And so if you are, for example, watching a YouTube video that is a podcast clip, a Joe Rogan podcast clip, for example, and now you switch and you're watching some sports highlights, that change is such a huge change. And what you're doing every time is you're changing that. You're going from sports highlights, now you're going to a different sports highlights, now you're going to a podcast clip, now you're going to an SMA YouTube video, whatever it is. Every time that you click on that, the dopamine is going to spike because your brain senses that there's a new environment, there's something new that's happening here, it's change. The more and more that you do that, the baseline dopamine level is going to start to decrease. What's going to happen is every time that you are switching, the dopamine spike is going to get less and less progressive. And I'm sure you can imagine this, right? If you've been watching YouTube for the last 2 hours, by the time you're on your 20th, your 25th, your 30th video, it's not going to be the same as when you first loaded up and you go into your recommendations and there's loads of videos there for you to watch, right? Same as when you're watching TikTok or you're on short form content. If you are scrolling, the first 5 minutes you're going to enjoy it, maybe you'll find something that's interesting, and then eventually every single time you see something new, it's going to slowly get worse and worse for you. And this is because obviously in bro science terms, it's not like it's not a literal muscle, but your focus muscle is atrophying, it's deteriorating, and you're doing this because you're doing the wrong actions. Just like if you were to eat junk food, or you were to not work out, or you were to do anything that is bad for your fitness, the muscle that you're trying to build is slowly going to start to atrophy. And the only way that you can get this up is by improving things and actually working out and eating the right foods and making sure you're hydrated and sleeping enough and all that kind of stuff, right? And the way you do that with focus is by just sticking to one task and continuously doing this. If you are working for, a 4-hour work block, if you work from 8 till 12 and then you have a 1-hour break, if this 1-hour break is like an absolute party, if you are having caffeine, if you are eating, junk food or really highly stimulating foods, if you are watching YouTube at the same time, the dopamine spike that you're going to get from that is going to be pretty significant, right? Because you're throwing all the good things that you have into 1 hour, and then you're going to expect yourself to work for the next 5 hours or whatever it is without any dopamine. You're going to just, put yourself into some sales calls, into some outreach, into some cold calling, and it's going to be basically hell on earth for you because you've had this huge spike where everything was really enjoyable before and now it's absolutely terrible because the difference in that is huge. And so because you've altered your baseline dopamine there, every single time that you go to do something now that is less stimulating what that hour break was like, you're going to slowly start to decrease that dopamine. And so this is going to be why when, after you've had a break, you can't really do too much work, or why your mornings are really productive because it's the first thing that you do and you don't actually touch your phone, or you don't do something that's really stimulating and you can actually just get on with your work and it's no problem at all. Once you come back after your break and you have been doing this highly stimulating stuff, now all of a sudden what's going to happen is the work that you're doing in the afternoon is going to feel like absolute hell. You're not going to want to do it. You're not going to be able to focus. You're going to be distracted. You're going to be wanting to do different things because you're going to be seeking that dopamine. And so what I like to do on a break, which might sound completely psychotic to be honest with you, but I just like to do nothing. If I have an hour where I have a break and I'm going to eat something, I don't need anything that's like, super stimulating or something that's like high in sugar or super processed or anything like that. Sometimes I'll just have porridge or cereal or something that's like really, really plain and literally do nothing. If you're watching this and you have breaks and you think that, that I'm a complete psychopath for doing this, I can completely understand because it is not something that's normal. But obviously if you want to grow a business, if you want to scale to that 10K per month, if you want to do something that is pretty extraordinary that not a lot of people can do, you have to do kind of difficult things and you have to do stuff that is really out there. If you do what everyone else is doing and you go on a crazy break for an hour, you have all these crazy stuff going on, you have this huge dopamine spike, you're going to get the kind of results that everyone else is getting, which is obviously not very much money, not a lot of freedom, and you're not going to get that 10K a month that you're looking for at this point. The reason why this works is because the only way that I get dopamine if I have a break like that for the first 8-9 hours of my day is by working, is by the success of closing a sales call, is by the success of booking appointments, whatever it is. That's the dopamine that I get from my day. And so the baseline dopamine, that level that I have, is so that every time that I am doing something to do with work and it's a small win, it's something, the dopamine that I get from that is much higher, right? And this is not scientific terms. I don't know the amount or whatever that would be or how this specifically works, but what I know is when I have these breaks where I don't have like a crazy time and I'm not watching YouTube and I'm not doing extra things, it's much easier to actually get that work done and it feels way more rewarding to do it, and I'm much more excited to actually go and do it. And that's why I can focus, because I actually want to do it. I mean, it's like if you locked yourself in a room like similar to this one that I'm in now, where there is literally nothing, just my work and my camera, I'm gonna get work done. And this is the only thing that's going to happen, because I'm not going to sit and do anything else, because I can't do anything else. I either have the choice of like staring at the wall or getting my work done. So I'm going to get my work done. And like, it's almost like putting yourself in jail a little bit, like mentally. If that's what it takes in order to win, if that's what it takes to actually focus and get stuff done, then I would take that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you haven't done the work that you wanted to, if you haven't completed your to-do list, then it feels pretty terrible. And I'm sure if you're conscientious, even remotely, like I am, not getting the things done that you were supposed to and planning something and then not actually going and doing it is literally hell on earth. And so putting yourself through this almost like a little bit of mental torture just so that you have nothing else to do is definitely worth it in my opinion. One thing I want to talk about as well, which contributes to people's dopamine levels and it also contributes to people's focus levels, is caffeine. Now, I used to drink caffeine every single day. I used to drink just 1 cup of coffee in the morning, which was pretty strong, so it would be like maybe like a cup and a half worth of coffee. I don't know how many milligrams that is or whatever, but it was a significant amount. And after a while, I basically got like numb to it. I didn't really get any benefit from it. I didn't feel awake by it. I didn't feel energized by it, nothing like that. And if you are regularly drinking caffeine, you probably are in this kind of state where the only way you get a bonus from caffeine, where you get that initial rise in focus or rise in energy, is if you have more than you usually would. And so if you're having 1 cup of coffee per day, then you now need 2 cups of coffee per day, right? And then you start to get into some pretty serious health issues. But the difference between 1 cup and 2 cup isn't actually that much. The difference between 0 and 1 is very, very high. What I've done in the past year or so is I've very, very rarely had caffeine. Now, what this starts to do is, because if I have 1 cup of coffee, if I have 1 bit of caffeine, energy that I get from that is extreme. It's really, really strange. It's turned caffeine for me into like the most powerful drug possible. And it helps me not just with focus and energy, it helps me to be more social. It's very strange. This has only happened really after I stopped. I feel like if you never drank caffeine before and now all of a sudden you're trying to start do it, you won't get the same effect. It's almost like your body has to experience it and then you be taken off it. But now I have this effect where if I have 1 cup of coffee, I have energy for several hours, and I can really use this to either focus, to improve myself in a social situation. For example, if I'm going to record YouTube videos, sometimes it's good to have a cup of coffee to give myself energy so I can think clearly and so I can have that verbal dexterity sometimes. It's almost like, and this is a very weird analogy, it's almost like when you are going out to drinking, right, and you're going to be drinking for most of the day or most of the night. When you have your first 1 or 2 drinks, you're very energized and it makes you like quite excited and stuff like that, right? The first 1 or 2 drinks, it gives you like a buzz. Caffeine almost does that to me without all of the weird sort of, doesn't make me feel dizzy or anything like that. Like I don't feel like drunk, I feel like focused, and it's turned it into like a very, very powerful drug for me. And so it makes it like a crazy tool for me to use, where now if I need that kind of energy, I can do. It's not going to give me a crash, it's not going to make me feel lethargic the next day or anything like that, and it's because I rarely use it. And so if you aren't doing that and you want another tool to help you to focus, I think you need, if you drink caffeine every day for the last year or so, you probably need like at least 3 months off, completely detox, no caffeine at all, which might be terrible to do initially, but once you've done it, it feels pretty fine, and you don't need the energy to wake up or anything like that. But once you've done it and you have this tool available to you where you can use caffeine in it, it's the most sort of crazy, euphoric and focus driven drug that you could imagine. It's a insane tool. So yeah, that's how I focus, to be honest, and it works pretty well, and it's been working well for the last year or so that I've been really implementing this. But if you are looking to sign more clients and you want someone to do it for you, go ahead and click the first link in the description. I'm not going to ask you for your emails or your phone numbers or anything like that. It's literally just a video of me explaining how my company helps marketing agencies to get more clients on a done for you basis. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, go ahead and click the like button if you want me to cover any topics or anything like that, and obviously subscribe if you want to see more. Appreciate you watching this one to the end, and take care. Cheers.